So with fall right around the corner in just a couple days, soups are one of my most favorite meals to cook and serve my family. There's just something about a warm and cozy soup for dinner that seriously will just warm your heart. So today I thought I would share our 5 most favorite soup recipes. Y'all are gonna love this one. You're sure to find a recipe you're gonna wanna try. So let's get into these soup recipes. So to my slow cooker, I'm just adding about 1 pound of chicken breast. I just have some thinly sliced, so it's about 2 chicken breasts. Next we're adding 2 cups of chicken broth. Next we're gonna add a 10-ounce can of red enchilada sauce. Next I'm just gonna add 2 cans of black beans, drained and rinsed. Next we're adding 1 can of fire roasted diced tomatoes, and this one is with the juice. Next we're adding 1 can of drained whole kernel corn. Next we're gonna add about 4 ounces of these diced green chilies. 2 tablespoons of minced garlic, and about 1 teaspoon of ground cumin. All right, I'm just gonna gently stir the top. My chicken is down there at the bottom, and I'm gonna cook mine on high about 3 or 4 hours until that chicken is tender, because we are gonna end up shredding that with forks. So about 3 or 4 hours on high, or of course you could do it 6 to 8 hours on low. Once that chicken was nice and tender, I just took 2 forks and shredded it all up. You could of course just pull each chicken breast out and shred it up that way, but I find it just as easy to shred it up right in the slow cooker. This dinner was my oldest daughter's favorite of the 2. Her all-time favorite soup I make is taco soup, so no wonder she loved it. Very similar in ingredients. This one was also very, very good. She actually took the leftovers today in her thermos for her lunch, so perfect for that. We topped ours with a little bit of shredded sharp cheddar cheese and a little bit of tortilla strips, and again, the perfect fall meal. So first, to a large pot, we're gonna saute a tablespoon or 2 of butter with 1 small diced onion. We're gonna just cook that a few minutes until it begins to soften. Next, you'll add some fresh chopped garlic, saute that for about 30 seconds just so it doesn't burn, and then we're gonna move all of this to the side. Next, to that same pot, we're gonna add 4 tablespoons of butter, a 1/4 cup of flour, and you're just gonna whisk this all together until there's no lumps. This is gonna create a roux, and this is what will make your soup super creamy. Next, while continuing to whisk, we're gonna add 2 cups of vegetable broth, and then after that, we're also gonna add 2 cups of half and half. And you just continually whisk so you don't get any lumps or clumps in there. Next, you're gonna add some freshly chopped broccoli, carrots, and then we're gonna put that onion and butter mixture back in the pot. For our seasonings, we're just gonna add 3/4 teaspoon of black pepper, 3/4 teaspoon of salt, 1/2 teaspoon of paprika, and 1/2 teaspoon of dry mustard. Also added a tiny sprinkle of cayenne just to give it a little heat. Next, we're gonna add 2 cups of sharp cheddar cheese. We're gonna stir this together, and I'll let mine simmer for about 20 minutes. And I have to tell y'all, Darren and McKenna did not like this. They're not broccoli and cheddar fans, like I said. However, Hayden and I and the person we took this to loved it. Also added a little bit more vegetable broth at the end just to get it the consistency that I was looking for. But if you like broccoli and cheddar, make this. The recipe is linked down below, and like I said, we thought it was delicious. So I have most of my ingredients sitting out here to show y'all. The only thing I don't have out is my ground beef. Obviously we're gonna need some of that to make cheeseburger soup, but we also need some chicken broth, some potatoes, an onion. We're gonna shred up those carrots, a few tablespoons of butter. We have some bacon that I cooked this morning that we're gonna crumble up at the end. As far as seasonings, we have some dried basil, parsley, salt and pepper. We have some milk back here, and then we have a little over 2 cups of shredded cheese. The recipe calls for cheddar or pepper jack, so I thought why not just use a little bit of both. So that's what we're gonna do. So let's go ahead and get this cheeseburger soup started in the slow cooker. Okay, so like I said, I'm just gonna kinda chop these carrots up a little bit more. And then I have my little helper over here to the side. She wants to help me put all these carrots into the crock pot. So, chopped carrots going in the crock pot. Go ahead. How do you wanna do it? You wanna just dump them, kinda slide them in like that so they don't go everywhere. Here, hold this too. Hold the board. There you go. Slide them all in. All right, next we're going to chop our potatoes. The recipe calls for 3 small potatoes to be peeled, but we're using yellow potatoes and the skin is very soft on there, so I'm actually not gonna peel them. I just washed them up really good. We're just gonna cube them up, and my assistant's gonna throw them in the crock pot for us. So we're gonna add 1 teaspoon of dried parsley, okay? And then next we're also gonna add a teaspoon of dried basil. All right, sprinkle that around. Good, okay? And then next we're gonna add about 3 cups of chicken broth right on top. All right, so the original recipe says about 45 minutes before serving your soup, that's when you're gonna brown up your ground beef. So instead of putting my onion in earlier in the crock pot, I thought I would add it with my ground beef here at the end to kind of help season it up. I think that'll be really good. Obviously, if you don't like onion or anything else in the recipes that I talk about, just leave those parts out. All right, my ground beef is all nice and brown. So I'm just gonna bring it over here. Put it in the crock pot with everything else. Also, at this point, I'm gonna add in that bacon that I already had cooked up from earlier. And I'm just gonna go ahead and give this a little stir. This already is looking really good, but we haven't even got to the best part yet. We're gonna make this super creamy. Super creamy and cheesy because hello, cheeseburger soup. All right, so to that same pan, I brought it back over here to the stove. We're gonna add our butter, 3 tablespoons of butter. Gonna let that melt, and then I'm gonna whisk in some flour and some milk. This is the part that's gonna make our soup super duper creamy. Then next, we're gonna add all of that cheese. Like I said, I'm using half pepper jack and half sharp cheddar. You can probably use whatever kind of cheese that you want. I have to say, this is looking so good already. And the original recipe says to just keep this on low for about 20 more minutes. So I'm just gonna keep it on low for until we eat. Honestly, it might be another hour, but I think it'll still be fine. I was thinking I may have to add some more milk if it wasn't creamy enough, but I think it's gonna be perfect. Alright, so to a large pot, I'm just going to melt some butter and olive oil, get that heating up, and then we're going to add some onion, some shredded carrots, thinly sliced or small diced celery, and we're going to let that continue to saute and soften up. Next, I'm just adding a sprinkle of salt and pepper and some minced garlic, and I'm going to let that continue to cook for about 30 seconds just to open up the flavor of that garlic. Next, I'm just using a little bit of dry white wine to deglaze our pan, and then I'm just going to whisk that around a little bit. We're also going to add in some flour and kind of let that cook for just a few minutes. Next, we're going to add in some chicken stock, some half and half, and then we're going to add some freshly chopped thyme. We're also going to add some Italian seasoning, and we're just going to bring this up to a simmer. Next, we're going to go ahead and add in our gnocchi. I'm just using this brand that I found from Walmart, and these are going to cook just for about 5 to 7 minutes until they are nice and tender and soft. And then I'm adding again our beloved rotisserie chicken into the pot with all of this deliciousness. We're also going to add some grated Parmesan cheese and a little sprinkle of nutmeg. Also, I'm adding in a couple handfuls of spinach. This will, of course, wilt down. You can't even hardly taste it. Perfect for kids, and I love a good meal like this. I think it has the veggies in there, the chicken, serve it with a good side of homemade bread, and you have the most perfect wintertime weeknight meal. So Darren decided he wanted to slice all of our veggies really thin. So here's a clip of him just using a little mandolin slicer, and I really love the kind of texture that it added to the soup with the veggies really thin like that. I don't know, I just really liked it. So of course you could do that by hand, just slice all your veggies really thin, and of course I'll have the recipe in the description box below. So I just melted about a half a stick of butter in my pot, and I added a little bit of minced garlic, and then like I said, all of the veggies. He sliced some mushrooms, onions, carrots, and celery, all super thin, and I just added that to my butter and garlic and sauteed those for just a few minutes, probably 5 minutes or so, until my veggies were starting to get a little tender. Next, I added in my seasonings. I added some rosemary, some thyme, some poultry seasoning, gave that a nice stir, and then I used 2 whole cartons of chicken broth. Once you have all your broth in your pot, then you'll add in your chicken. Like I said, we just decided to use a rotisserie chicken, and Darren just picked all the meat off of there. You can add as much or as little as you want. So just put the chicken in, and then next it's time for those dumplings. These are the ones I use, Mary B's dumplings. I found them in the frozen foods, I believe in our store on the breakfast aisle, but I'm just kind of breaking them in half. And the thing I like about these dumplings is you can make them any size you want. I just left them out on the counter for a few minutes beforehand while I was kind of getting the soup started, and they were super easy to just break apart. So I just popped a lid on and let it simmer for about 45 minutes, and it was delicious. This will definitely be my go-to chicken noodle soup from now on. It was so easy with all of these shortcuts, but it seems like you put a whole lot of time and effort into it. I also wanted to at least include a clip of this potato soup. I just shared it with y'all maybe about a month ago, but it is probably my top favorite soup of all time, especially when it comes to potatoes. So I'm gonna link that video down below. Make sure you go and watch that next. But thank you guys so much for cooking along with me today. Let me know if you've tried any of these recipes or the one you think you might try next. I hope you're all doing amazing, and I'll see you really soon in my next video. Bye y'all.